Our first presenter today is John Blackmon. He's the CTO and Chief AI Officer of ELBLearning. As the CTO, he's responsible for all aspects of development and strategy for our e-learning products. And prior to joining ELBLearning, John was co-founder and CEO of Trivanis, where he created the flagship products Lectora and Scenario VR, which you may have heard of before. Today, he is going to discuss how you can harness the power of AI for good in e-learning. So without further ado, I am going to let John take over and share his knowledge with you.
Thank you very much, Steph. All right, let me get in, share screen, and let me make sure I also go in and share sound. Okay, thank you very much. Today, we're going to be talking about revolutionizing e-learning by harnessing the power of AI. So, we hear the term AI every day now, at least I do, multiple times per day, absolutely, but what is AI really? If you look to the movies, they always depicted something like Ex Machina or maybe iRobot down here, and it's really not a great comparison since both of those killed a lot of people, including the people who invented them, so probably not that. So what is AI? AI is the field of computer science dedicated to creating software or machines that can perform tasks that typically require human intelligence. So there are a lot of things that fit that definition, right? So you think about visual perception, like recognizing objects in pictures or video, speech recognition, decision-making, language translation, as well as generating new and unique content. So with all this hype going on around AI now, it seems like it's in the news every evening on the evening news. Maybe you were thinking it's just something that's brand new, but truthfully, it had its roots in 1956 at a conference about AI at Dartmouth College. It ran for 8 weeks, and it really set the foundations for what we now know as AI. So there's been research going on in AI for decades now, but the speed of the hardware has only caught up to the processing needs recently, and there's been a few technical innovations that have been made over the last few years that have really changed things. So we see AI all around us now, and we almost take it for granted. As a matter of fact, we probably don't even think of it as AI as it's going on, because Alexa and Google, they can answer our every query just by asking, right? Netflix somehow always knows the next show that is going to hook me into binge watching it yet again. Our phone can unlock just by looking at it. And I can have whatever image I want in my Zoom background, including a blur or something else, and it can pick me out distinct from my background. Social media can keep us glued to our phones by constantly presenting us with material we're interested in because it knows what we're interested in. And finally, the newest and probably the most exciting part of it is generative AI. And this is what's been making all the news lately. So what is generative AI? Generative AI is a specific type of artificial intelligence that can take human input and create something entirely new, like art, writing, video, audio. You give it a prompt, it creates a new creation. And so generative AI learns by leveraging large language models, known as LLMs, and consuming content. So you can see it laid out here in the drawing. We start with a neural network. So a neural network is a program, and there's a specific type of neural network known as a large language model. You then feed that information, a lot of information. They say that ChatGPT has consumed about 20% of the entire internet. Let me tell you, it would take you a long time to consume 20% of the entire internet. And then that is the baseline of knowledge that the LLM has. A user then inputs a prompt to the LLM, and the LLM takes that and, using its baseline of knowledge, generates a response to the prompt based on what it has. It uses vector technology underneath the covers to put that together, and it puts it out a word at a time, guessing what the next best word would be after that, after each word it puts out. Okay, so that's great, and that's neat, but how does that help us in e-learning, right? So, well, it can do a lot of things with e-learning. Just for a few things that we do all the time, things like summarizing text. So you get in a lot of text, maybe from your SME, and it's just a huge amount of information, and you need to put that into some bullet points. AI can do that for you. It can really pick out the key topics in there and put it in and get you a good summary of the text. Generating writing pieces is something it can also do. If you have a topic maybe that you just need to get a start on and you need to have it generate something, it can actually give you a great starter and generate some writing pieces just given a little bit of a topic. And we're going to look at some of that in a little bit. Determining appropriate writing style. So now there's a great one. We all get our input from, SMEs or different experts and things like that. And maybe that's not actually who you're going to be outputting it for. Maybe you need to put it for a different, reading level. Maybe you need to put it for, different tone, different things like that. AI can help you change the tone of things as you're going. Generating questions from content. This is a great one, and something that we're definitely working on is the ability to take the content and then automatically generate questions from it. When you're creating a test, you want to make sure that test reflects what you have taught the student in your course. And so it can take a while to go through and try to generate questions and then generate distractors. AI does a great job of generating questions that are pertaining to your content and also generating distractors that are decent distractors as well. That's something that takes a lot of our time. Creating photos from text. We're going to look at that in just a second. That's another great one. Sometimes you can't find the photo you want. You can actually have AI generate that photo for you. Editing scripts, being able to create scripts, talking points, role play between people. That's something that AI can definitely do. And we're going to look at that a little bit as well. And creating voiceovers. Professional sounding voiceovers are always important. AI does a great job as that as well. All right, so let's just talk about AI that you use today. So some of these may be very familiar to you. Some of those may not be very familiar to you. But there is plenty of AI out there that you can use today. The first one, and the one that has generated all the hype out there, is ChatGPT. It's known as ChatGPT. Okay, so it's at chat.openai.com. So this is what is known as ChatGPT. You can get to it. You can sign up for free. You can use a lot of things there, and it's amazingly good. This is the one that really came out and generated all the hype. There's a lot of other ones right now, but this is the one that you're generally hearing about it. So you do it by having a conversation with ChatGPT. As you fill in prompts, everything that you say during this conversation is remembered, so you can refer to things as you're moving on. So in this case, I'm going to ask it for a brief history of the Eiffel Tower. It's going to go and think about it for just a moment and then begin giving the history of the Eiffel Tower. If I wanted it to refine something it said, I could literally say, oh, for point 7, point number 7 in your list, what would tell me more about those renovations, and it would know exactly what it talked about before. So it's fully conversational. You can refine things and work with them. Very good stuff. Another one that came out is Bard. So Bard is a great one from Google. It is very, very similar to ChatGPT. It actually existed before that. But then got released immediately after ChatGPT because Google did not want to be left behind. So we can give that the same prompt, and let's see how that does with the prompt when you compare the two and how they work on that together. So Bard puts it out all at once rather than streaming it out to you. But you see, kind of interesting. It gave it a very different layout and actually a little bit different information. It's not necessarily that any of it's wrong. It's just the way it presents it. It tells you about, this gave you bullet points on concept and design. Bard just gave you a few paragraphs on it and just talked about construction. Just interesting. There's differences between. So if you're going to be using AI, don't always single source things. Make sure you check different sources. There are more AIs than just these two available as well. So lots that you can look at. I definitely recommend, editing these a little bit. Never use anything directly from that. If there's anything in there that you're questioning, got to make sure that it's giving you accurate information. Sometimes AI has been known to hallucinate, as they call it, when it comes up with facts that aren't really there. But in general, it's pretty good, especially about things like history of the Eiffel Tower. I'm pretty sure everything it puts out there is quite correct. Okay, so now let's look at image generation. So image generation is another great thing. There's a lot of things out there. This one is DALL-E. So DALL-E is also from OpenAI, and you can create a lot of things out there in image generation. Right now, we're going to create something, but let's have you guys throw something into the chat. What kind of image do you want to see it created? We can come up with any kind of crazy thing you want to put out there. Throw some ideas in the chat here, and we can see what you want to create. Okay.
Purple dinosaur duck with elephant.
I kind of want to see that.
Fast.
I have to admit, I kind of want to see that too. Okay. All right. I feel like I have to. We might do a couple of these. We are going to do this thing. So let's, yes, a bear. Okay. We have some really creative people on the line today. That is great to see. I love it. And there we have a purple dinosaur duck with elephant feet. Okay. I mean, okay. Interesting. Let's go for one more with this, and we'll go for, there's just so many good ones. I don't know which one to choose. I'm going to go for the fat cat fishing on a beach. Sorry if I didn't pick yours. There's too many good ones. Oh, all right. Patricia's putting some bacteria with cilia, which is actually very realistic and probably something you would need in a course. All right. And I'm going to go for that because I'm going to compare it to another image generation. Bacteria with cilia. I just want to see what it does with it. So this is one we actually probably could use. Yeah, Firefly is also in Bay. Yeah, there's a lot of these out there, just showing some of these things. So very good. Something you may actually use in your day-to-day. Bing has a free image generator too. So the Bing image generator, also good. It also uses OpenAI, but they say, don't know if it's real or not, that they use a better version of it. So some amazing ones out there. Let's see how it compares to the image that we generated seconds ago. Let's look how it does. And actually, yeah, very different. It produces several for us to look at. Very, very different. Just amazing. Let's also try this fat cat fishing on a beach. Let's see how it does that and compares to what we created. Just interesting to see the different AIs. They're fully generative, so they're creating things on the fly. Even if you put the same thing in twice, it'll come up with a different one the next time. So yes. Okay, this might be the winner. All right. So anyway, generative AI definitely can create images, lots of things you can use, and they can actually be things you will use within your day-to-day work. Easily, you can see yourself using these things. Okay, so now here's one that you probably aren't thinking about, which is the portrait generator. So this is something called Vana Portrait Generator. One of the things that we all have to do is have a profile photo. When we use a profile photo all over the place, or you can call it a profile image, or your whatever you call it. It's, for myself, I use this one, which is an AI generated profile photo. Now, it does it by taking your own picture and then taking that picture and then morphing it, giving a different different look, different artistic view. This is called Vana. So this is kind of a cool one. So you can create your own AI portrait photo. So I have gone through and I have created tried several different things to create a portrait photo. The one I ended up using was the first one, and I tried a whole bunch of different ones that are in there, but I ended up using this first one it created. But there's a lot of different portrait photos that it'll create. I used a pulp manga theme, a retro poster, studio creations. It all looked pretty cool. So, but what I did find out, and I don't know if this is still the case, but when I did it, I found out that if you choose a theme that has a female in the theme, then it will create a female version of your portrait. If you choose a theme that has a male in the picture, it will choose a male portion of it, which is fine. And now that you know that, it's easy. However, if you didn't know that and just thought you were choosing that theme, then you'll find out it creates a female version of you. which may or may not be a good thing. Depends on if the female version of you actually looks better than you look as a male. That might be a problem, but you know. Anyway, just kind of fun things you can mess with, things you can enjoy out there with AI. All right, the last one we're going to look at is voice, or the second to last one, actually, I guess, which is the generating voice. So there's a ton of these out there, and this also, it's in Lectora, and it's in a lot of different things. You can have text to speech. There's many of them. So, but this is just one. It had a free trial, and so you put in some text, and then you can try it in different voices. So it has.
There are many AI text-to-speech options available today. This is just one example that has a free trial.
Right, and you can choose different, male, female.
There are many AI text-to-speech options available today. This is just one example that has a free trial.
So lots of things available out there. Some of these even have APIs that you can call. There are actually text-to-speech built into the browser itself. We're going to look at some of that later. So lots of options for AI text-to-speech for sure. Okay, the last thing we're going to look at for AI you can use today, although trust me, there's a lot more than just this, is in Office 365 and Google Docs. Now, a lot of this is in beta still, but some of it is out. I am in the actual beta for that. So in Google Docs, it's coming out soon, and you'll be able to go in and either just start with a blank page and tell it to help you write, or many other things. So we're going to create a document here. Again, throw it out in the chat. What kind of document would you like to see Google Docs create? Anyone? Throw it out in the chat. I know we have creative people on this call.
We are really on the fat cat on a beach theme.
I know, but I kind of like it. Oh, how nuclear? Let's go to something a bit more. I know the fact, yeah, we might do that too, but
maybe the leadership meeting about learning management systems.
I think so. I think we're going to go for that one. So it's so I'm going to say, help me write, and I'm going to go for a leadership meeting about learning management systems expectations. So there we go. Seems like something that we might actually have to write it, a script for training. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be doing some of that in a little bit. Okay, so it throws it out there, gives you a date, gives you a time, says, attendees, agenda, discussion, Q&A. Okay, great. I can insert that in there. And now I've got my document set up. I changed it to actual people rather than John Smith and Jane Doe. I set in my date and time, location, and it looks like a pretty professional way to get it going. However, all right, this is great. But you know what? This next step, that's a little small. So if I select that, I now have a little thing over here. I say, okay, you know what? I can formalize it, shorten it, elaborate, rephrase. So maybe I want more than a sentence there. I can just ask it to elaborate. And then it'll bust it out for me and make it a little bit larger, right? Now look at that. Gave me a whole lot more information on that. I can try it again. I can refine it or just replace it, and boom, it's in there. So it can really, really help me build out all of this information in here. So just amazing what's out there today. There is just so much available today. It's incredible. And much more. I mean, it's every day there's something new coming out. Access the beta, it's an invite. So I do a lot with Google, and it's I was invited. My company account is not on. That's my personal account that's actually on in a Google. It'll be out soon enough. Yeah, it's incredible how well it works. Just incredible. All right. So one of the things about AI, and probably the most important thing about AI, is the ability to create an effective prompt. It's the key to getting the most out of AI. AI is a great tool. It's fantastic. But as with anything, you need to learn the best way to use it. And there's a new way to talk to AI. It's really not much different than a lot of things, but this really is the most important thing, is prompting. So there's a few things. These are probably not the only ones you can take. No, it's not an add-on in Google Doc. That's just going to be part of Google Docs for everyone coming up shortly. So the first thing is understanding your audience. So when you're going to have AI create content, you should always tell AI what level of content you want. Are you creating this for a 5th grade reading level, a 10th grade reading level, a college reading level? Are you sending it to college professors? Are you sending it to, your corporate employees? Are you sending, let AI know who the audience of this will be, and it will tailor that content to that audience. And it does a pretty good job of tailoring. Next one is to keep it simple. So very, very important to keep it as simple as possible. Do not put a lot of extraneous. Don't be too crazy on get all, super wordy on everything. A lot of times when we get very wordy, we tend to contradict ourselves there, or it can be interpreted as contradicting when we get too much information in there and AI can pick up on the wrong part of that. It can be a problem. However, and this seems like it's in direct contradiction to that, you want to be specific, but that's not in contradiction to keep it simple. Say exactly what you mean. Get detailed in there. Just don't get extraneously wordy when you're doing it. Be very specific. The other chance is to iterate and experiment. So the best way to learn to prompt is to get in there and do it. And that's the best way to do anything, right? So yes, you can add a person's writing style for sure, absolutely. Sometimes though that can be problematic if you add a person's writing style. Just saying. But we will look at something that writes in the style of something later. We actually are going to use that. I'm going to show a use case that does that. But experiment, iterate, try many different things. And that leads us to the next thing. If you go in and you're working with AI and you're trying to get it to give you something in a certain way, and you try a first prompt, you don't like it, you refine, you don't like it. Let's say you've gone through and prompted 5 different times, and then it finally gave you exactly what you wanted. Your next prompt should be to ask the AI, what should I have prompted to have gotten this answer immediately? And AI will tell you the proper prompt. So it can do that for you. And so that'll actually help you learn how to prompt. Ask AI how to prompt. Once it's given you what you want, and if it took you a little while to get there, ask AI. Okay, so let's look at some prompts, good prompts, bad prompts. So in prompt generation. So our first prompt, let's say we need a story. We're going to be telling a little story. If we just say, write a story, right? So no, it's a bad prompt, right? There's no direction at all. You don't know what it's going to return to you. I mean, maybe it'll be a great story, but it'll have probably nothing to do with what you actually wanted it to say. I'm sure if you wanted AI to write a story, you had an idea in mind what you wanted it to write a story about. So you need to tell AI what that is. So a good prompt, a prompt that is it's a fine prompt would be, write a short story set in a small town where a stranger comes to town and causes fear amongst the locals until they get to know him. Okay, that's pretty good. You get specific in there. You give it enough information that you will get probably a story like you want. But maybe the best prompt for this is to, hey, write a short story intended to be read. So you're giving it your audience, intended to be read by 10th grade level readers, set in a small town where a stranger named Ian, perfect. You gave him the name. So now that name will be in there. He comes to town, causes fear. And then they have funny incidents. We didn't give that before because maybe we wanted that. And then the locals get to know and befriend the stranger. Okay, so let's try that out. So we're going to give that one to ChatGPT, and we're not going to put that inside of our Eiffel Tower query because it's not about the Eiffel Tower. And let's go ahead. And we're going to start with that second prompt because the write a story will just be all over the map. All right. So we've asked it to write us a story about that, and it's writing quite a story. We asked for a short story. It gave us quite a lot. All right, so name the town Maplewood. That's okay. We never gave it a name. Maybe we didn't really worry about the name, but maybe we could have given it the name of the town. Would have used that name. Talked about the townsfolk. Brought them in. Okay, so gave that, but we didn't get the right name. We didn't get who it was writing for. Let's try to change that up a little bit, and we'll change it to, now I've given it the full prompt, but I could have just said, could you rewrite this for a stranger named Ian and to be read by 10th grade level readers, but I'll give it the full prompt. So, all right, this is, gives us a very similar story, but fills in all those pieces and changes the tone of it to make sure it's talking to 10th grade level readers. So very, very interesting stuff. All right. Very cool. So let's go back here and let's look at one more prompt. And this is one that's a bit more realistic. This is something we may actually do. We might ask it, how do I write an email to set up a meeting with a coworker? Okay. It sounds like, exactly what you were trying to do, but in reality, it's still a little too generic, right? You haven't given it any information about it. So to better that prompt, maybe we say, I need to set up a meeting with my coworker, Jane, to discuss the upcoming project. She's available on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 10 to 2. What's the best way to write an email to request a meeting? And even better, fill in even more detail. Say when the project is due, say what you're going to do. You're going to brainstorm ideas, give it that same information, and then tell it you want to take in the project deadline into account, right? So if we go in, bring that up, but in this case, we're going to go back to Bard for this one. If I take that first one and just put in, which is, something, it's actually what we were going to ask is, how do I write an email? You're not really sure if it's going to give you an email or it just might give you the steps to create the email, which is what it did in this case. So this isn't at all what I wanted. I didn't want the steps to create an email. I wanted to give me the email. So let's try that second prompt, see how it did there. All right, and now it just gives me, sure, here's that email you can send to Jane, gives me that email and lets me know these. And actually, this is not what I wanted. I wanted to brainstorm. And so so let me fill it out and send it in. And then that should give me pretty much what I wanted. Just need to change some of the details to make sure it works. Okay. And so, yeah, so now it knows exactly the right thing. We're going to brainstorm ideas, gives you times, dates. It's the way to go. Okay. So let's look at a few case studies. These are actual case studies that an instructional designer, so I have a friend who is an instructional designer at a fitness studio company, very, very much a heavy user of AI, really has changed the way she's able to do her job. And so I asked for a few case studies of times when she's recently done it and it has saved her massive amounts of time. So the first one is when she was tasked with creating a role play, coming up with a role play that illustrated the company's policies on handling upset members. So their company policy, they use the HEART model, which is hear them out, empathize, apologize, resolve, and take action, right? It's a very common model. It's known out there. And so you're given this, it comes down, create this. What's the first thing that happened? Blank page syndrome. You sit down and think for a little while. Okay, now I got to come up with a dialogue between two people, and they actually were going to create a video of it, but she had to come up with a dialogue between the two people, and you sit around for a long time, but you don't need to sit around for a long time anymore. So use AI to get you started. It's not going to create everything for you, but use AI to get you started. So what did she do? She came up with a prompt, and it's a pretty good prompt. The prompt was, write a script between a sales associate named Max and a member named Aaron. Aaron has been an elite member for 6 months, which is a thing in that gym. Aaron is highly motivated, has made progress to her fitness goals. For Tuesday morning, 6:15 a.m. class, you see that Aaron is late canceled after class starts, and at 5 minutes have passed, you charge late cancel fee to her account because that's the way it is done in that company. The following week, Aaron talks with you and is upset at the charge. The sales associate uses the HEART model response in this situation, and then it gives exactly what the HEART model is. Hear them out, empathize, apologize, resolve, and take action. Okay. So if we actually go in and do that, and again, I'm going to delete that, and we're going to come up with a new chat. So we're going to, and I am not going to type all that. I am definitely going to copy and paste that in. So that is the exact script that we just looked at in there. And I asked ChatGPT to come up with that. And it gives you the scene, it gives you the name of the people, and it gives you a full script that you can start out. Now, it may not be exactly the script you want, but it gives you all of this information in there. But what if I also wanted to be able to note each one, where was the heart model used? So perhaps I'm going to do that. I'm going to illustrate that. I can just add a follow-on question into that, and I can say, for this example, label each response from the sales associate with the corresponding heart step. And it will go, and it knows I just talked about it, and it labels each one, hear them out, empathize, apologize, resolve, and take action. I have now skipped that whole hour and a half where I'm going to sit around and try to think about it and come up with a thing and work through it. It got me started. It may not be perfect. I may need to change it up, but at least it got me started, right? Gets me into there, gets me into what I need to do. All right. So I have the next example. And once again, I'm going to tell you, this is a real example. Making a better story. All right, so again, this is actually the same instructional designer at that fitness studio company. And they were tasked with coming up with a way to promote their lead management system, which was called Orange Book. And that actually may give you a clue as to what company this is. But it was a fitness studio company, and the system was Orange Book to their franchisees. They had current promotional materials that they would put out, but they were dry and they weren't catching the attention. They weren't getting enough usage in their intended audience. So literally, that was all the ID was given, and they had to come up with something catchy. Now, the picture here on the right, if you know that is, you know where I'm going with this. If you don't know what that is, you're wondering, John, why do you have a shirtless man sitting on a horse with a bottle of Old Spice? Okay, that is just so weird, right? Well, if you don't know, there was a viral set of commercials that came out, a few years back, which Old Spice created a very, very quirky set of commercials in which this guy comes out and he anyway, it's better off if I show you the example. I'm going to show you one of the commercials that this is actually going to be based on, and you'll probably figure out why it went viral. So let's take a look at the commercial.
Hello, ladies. Look at your man. Now back to me. Now back at your man. Now back to me. Sadly, he isn't me. But if he stopped using lady-scented body wash and switched to Old Spice, he could smell like he's me. Look down. Back up. Where are you? You're on a boat with the man your man could smell like. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's an oyster with 2 tickets to that thing you love. Look again. The tickets are now diamond. Anything is possible when your man smells like Old Spice and not a lady. I'm on a horse.
I still laugh every time I see that. It's still funny. Super quirky, super viral. There were memes created about this for years afterwards. There are still memes created about this. Absolutely. So really funny. So the instructional designer knew about this, loved this, knew it was quirky, knew anyone who has seen this would certainly want to actually pay attention to what's being done. Yeah, absolutely a classic. So, let's see if AI can spice up our promotion. Pun absolutely intended there, 100%. And so the prompt that the instructional designer wrote was to rewrite this script for lead management system Orange Book for being the best for getting leads. And then that is absolutely the text that came from that. That's the text, and just put it in quotes. So it's rewriting this script, but they're rewriting it for the lead management system Orange Book being the best for getting leads. Awesome. Let's just see what, let's see, we'll use Bard this time. So this just gives you an idea. I mean, you still have to be creative. You have to have that creativity to try to come up with something a little crazy to put in there, but let this be the one for you. So what did it come up with? So it said, hello, business owners, look at your lead generation process. Now back to me. Now back at your lead generation process. Now back to me. Sadly, it isn't me. But if it switched to Orange Book, it could generate leads like me. Look down, back up. Where are you? You're on a call with a qualified lead. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's a closed deal. Look again. The closed deal is now a recurring revenue stream. Anything is possible when your lead generation process is powered by Orange Book. That's pretty darn good, right? It's amazing what it can come up with. That's a lot better than I think I would have come up with had I tried to do that in there. And maybe you need to edit it a little bit. Maybe you need to qualify it a little bit, whatever it may be. In the reality, this is what got sent out. They actually ended up doing an animation. So they used a little animation. They put accompanying music in there, and they created, and they used this image. They sent it out. Your leads are now diamonds with it. At the end of this, they put a link to the YouTube video in case there was someone who didn't know what that was and thought this is the weirdest thing I have ever read. And it ended up being, hello, sales associates. Look at your lead management system. Now back at me. Now back at your lead management system. Now back to me. Sadly, it isn't Orange Book, but if you used Orange Book, you could close more leads and get more members. Look down, back up. Where are you? You're on a tropical island with the members you got with Orange Book. What's in your hand? Back at me. I have it. It's more hot leads. Look again, the leads are now diamonds. Anything is possible when you use Orange Book for lead management. I'm on a treadmill. Treadmill makes more sense in this case. Obviously, AI wouldn't have known that, so you have to change things up a little bit. Just things to spice it up, to make it more lively. I guarantee you, I would have read that. I bet you would have too. And it just makes it more interesting. Okay. So now let's take a look at some AI in the ELB studio today. And in addition to that, AI doing, actually generating content or generating, using AI with things in the studio as well. So we're going to look at a lot of different things here. So the first one we're going to look at is generating scenes in CDR. So some of you may already be familiar with this. Some of you may not. But a new feature in Scenario VR that got released recently is the ability to automatically generate scenes. So what we found is that for most people, the hardest part about getting started in VR was to create the 360 scene that you would be experiencing in. Now, there are some stock images out there that are 360 that are not hard to find. 360 cameras are also pretty inexpensive as well, but it's just, it's a hump to get over to get started with creating 360. And maybe you're just trying to do a proof of concept or something like that, so you didn't have budget to buy a camera. Lots of different reasons. So we looked at putting in AI. So when we get into AI, first thing you have to do is when you're creating a scenario is to put that scene in. We now have an AI wizard. So in the AI wizard, you have a lot of categories of images. So lots of things here. So we can do a lot of categories. We're going to stick with realistic at the moment. And now we need to put in a scene description. So throwing this back out to the audience, what kind of scene, what kind of 360 environment would you like to see? And of course, will there be a fat cat in it? That's the next question. Ooh,
I was going to say no fat cats, but that's what the audience wants.
So things like hospital room sounds good, but give it more description if you want to go there, right? Operating room or clinical scene in a bubble. How about a little bit more descriptive about what do you want to see in the hospital room? What do you want to see in the operating room? In a bubble. That's interesting. I kind of like operating room. We could just go with operating room. I'm sure that'll give us something interesting. So many people are hitting the chat. It's hard to copy. I'm gonna have to actually type. This would be terrible.
Oh, John, you poor thing.
All right. So we're going to go for an operating room. We're going to give it realistic. A vacation in Bora Bora. That's where I actually want to be. The vacation in Bora Bora with a beverage in hand and palm trees. I like that idea. But in this case, we're going to go for operating room. So fantastic. We're going to generate an operating room. It generates a 6K full 360 spherical image. So it takes a little while, anywhere between 20 and 60 seconds for a scene. When it gets done, it creates it and shows it to us. And we can say, hey, that's great. I can use it or cancel and try another one. In this case, I'll use it and I'll create, I could have laser surgical tools in there too, right? And so I've now created it and now it is my scene. That is a pretty cool room. And I can look around. I can then annotate it with objects. I can add in hotspots, questions, info cards, audio, 3D models, timers, anything, make it interactive, put in timed events, make my scene. But I've actually gone through and, taken the hassle out of setting that up. I always feel for production situations, you do want to actually film your environment rather than using it. But to get started, or maybe to create some, just a background that doesn't, isn't specific to anything. Maybe you're going to have an opening screen or a closing screen. AI will do a great job of creating that background for you. All right, so generating voiceovers in Lectora. This has actually been around for quite a while. So the ability to generate a voiceover is in tools. So just like we did with the previous one, you have text-to-speech. And so lots of different choices here. So you can, have different languages, different voices, and you can just click on generate audio to generate, or we can preview what it's going to look like.
Hi, my name is Sally. I will read any text you type here.
So if you want to generate a voiceover, you don't really have to do anything. You don't have to send that out to production. You can actually have that in. We'll try.
Hi, my name is Ivy. I will read any text you type here.
So we have even like children's voices. I know Justin is another children's voice.
Hi, my name is Justin. I will read any text you type here.
Justin sounds really excited about that. So yes, very simple. You just click on generate audio. It generates that audio, puts it in. You can play it, trigger it, do anything you want with it. Super simple to use. All right. So generating course content in Lectora. That's an amazing one. So this is a fairly new feature of Lectora Online. And so now when you look at Lectora Online, really the same interface as Lectora, you can just click on create new project. All right. When you create a new project, these are the standards that have always been here, but the new one is the AI course wizard. We can actually generate the framework and really the steps, the starting steps for an entire course. So one more time, throwing it out to the users, what do you want to see a course on? And I don't think we can do a course on a fat cat sitting on a beach, but I mean, it's possible. How to teach a cat how to fish. Change management. I like to see that's it. Okay, let's go change management. That's very real. All right. All right, hand hygiene and health. Okay, so there's just some excellent ones. I might do more than one. That's really good. You give it a topic and it gives you an example. It's just literally a topic, a few word topic. You give it a number of pages to generate. It's anywhere from 1 to 15 pages. You can select a theme. It'll automatically use that theme. You can use any of the themes that are built in, any number of pages. Takes about a minute or so. The nice thing about that, it gives you some quips about AI, which were generated in AI down here at the bottom, and then just a little animation going on as it's generating. So these were some great topics. Okay, hand hygiene in a healthcare setting is something that probably you might need to create. Once it does that, it then creates it, builds it out, and created a 10-page course with full text, why change management, key concepts. I mean, you can imagine that, maybe this isn't everything. Obviously, you still need to put images in here. Look for perhaps that coming later with AI generation as well. But we have at least a layout of where we wanted to go with this. Addressing resistance to change, monitoring change, change management, conclusion. It's a great way to get a start, right? And basically solves that blank page syndrome, gets you going on a topic if you need to. I'm not going to go into the other ones just because we just time-wise, but you can imagine you can type in just about anything into Lectora and get a course out of there with up to 15 pages of information. Edit it, change it, add your photos in. Maybe that's what you need to get started. Certainly can get you going. Okay, so next we're going to look at a few things where we actually add AI into traditional content. And so the first one we're going to look at is with Lectora as well. And we're going to look at grading student responses. No, I do not want to change that. All right, so in this one, we have a question we're going to ask the student, something student needs to respond. We tell them that they've received a customer complaint email from a customer about a problem they're having with a trial version of the software. The customer's email really doesn't provide enough information for you to act upon. Shocking, I know. So it asks you to draft a short 1-paragraph response to the customer. something that a lot of people have to do a lot of the time, including me. The issue here is if you put this in an e-learning course, unfortunately, we've never previously had a way to grade that. We don't have a way to respond to what they put in. Maybe they put it in and it, later we look it up and then we give them a response later. But how do you get real-time feedback for the user on something like that, right? You can do that with AI. So I'll run it first, I'll show it to you, and then we'll take a look at how it's done. So in this case, we're just going to quickly publish out. We're going to run using our preview mode. We're just going to preview that. And here is that AI response course, right? So we've got that in there, and I'm going to have a few answers here. So let's start with this answer, which is probably not our best answer. Might be true, but probably not the best answer. What if I said, this is only a trial version of the software, sorry, but we don't provide support for trial versions. So I click on check response, puts up a little wait symbol, calls out to AI, and asks AI to grade it. We'll look at the prompt in just a moment. 3 out of 10. So it acknowledges maybe that is your company policy. So acknowledges it's a trial version, but it's not really good. And it gives you a more effective response and gives you a sample of the response here that you should have. Okay, not bad. Let's try a better response. And, something like this, it's still a little short. Sorry to hear you're having issues with our software. If you could provide a bit more information, I would be happy to help solve the issue. So, polite, nice, maybe a little shorter than it should be. Let's see what AI gives us on this one. 7 out of 10. Acknowledges the customer issue, expresses willingness to help, but it could be more specific about the information needed and providing a clear call to action. So good, it's giving me very good information there. Okay, so we could actually easily grade this because it's always giving us this rating out of 10. We could actually give them a grade if we wanted to grade this based on that. Plus, we give them immediate feedback on how they're doing, and the feedback seems to be pretty good. So how did we do this? All right, so on this page, we have the standard page. We have an entry field here. That entry field is set up. We have the Lectora is extremely extensible. We always tell you what the HTML name of that is. It's entry 133, and we also have a variable associated with it, entry 01. So we can actually affect things that are on the screen through scripting if we want in Lectora. So I have a small HTML object here, an HTML extension, and we put in a little bit of code in there, right? And I put one function there called call GPT. So it's just a single function. I know that in Lectora, every entry field has a variable, or every form element has a variable associated with it, and I can just call get value to get that value. So I call that entry field get value. I now have that in answer. I make sure it's greater than 10. If they didn't put more than 10 characters in there, they're just messing around. So I ask them to provide an appropriate response and don't send that to ChatGPT. If it works, I build up a prompt. So here is the prompt I'm building. So it says, assistant is an experienced customer service representative who will be providing feedback on a student's response to a customer interaction. The assistant should grade the user's response on a scale of 1 to 10, and then provide a better response if that is needed. The student has been prompted with the following, and then I put in the exact text that we prompted it in there. And then I put in there another one, in the student's response that you should grade is the following, and I put what the student put in there. I put what they put in there. And then I put in a call to ChatGPT, and when it comes back, I show that information. So you say, yeah, but John, I don't know anything about JavaScript. How am I supposed to know how to do that? Well, one, you could bring somebody in to do it, or you could ask ChatGPT how to do it, which is what I did for this example. So this is exactly what that is. You do need an API key to call it as an API, so you will have to sign up on that. And ChatGPT used it, and this is, by the way, the exact code that I used in there. I did have to know how to get that information from there, but I just asked ChatGPT how to do it. So it's probably not as hard as you're thinking anymore. There's a lot of things that you can do. Okay, one last one. Oh, too quick. One last one is adding something into Lectora as well. And that is going to be speech recognition and synthesis. So this is something that you can't normally do in your courses, right? Is listen to a user, but we can now do that. We have AI. So let's look at this course here. And nope, we're not going to change that. All right, so this is a course on social engineering, cybersecurity, and it's got a lot of information about cybersecurity in here, things that you'll go through. So that's great. But on this particular page, we have a page about the dark web. And maybe we want to let people, the dark web's a little scary, and we put a little bit of information, but maybe we just want some people to be able to ask free-form questions, right? Maybe we want to give a way for them to ask questions. So, hey, we can do that. And maybe they're taking it on mobile when typing is a little hard, whatever it might be. You can set up for that. So again, we're going to publish it out just to get an idea of how it works, and then I'll show you what we did. All right, so again, we are going to preview this, and here is that page. And so it's the course, and we go through the course. All right, and we get to this page, and it's talking about the dark web. Ooh, that's scary. Look, I can phone a friend. All right, let's phone a friend. So we click that, it brings this up, and now we can ask it any question about social engineering, and AI Coach will answer. So click the speak button, and then when we're done speaking, hit the send button. Is the dark web real? All right, so I've asked it a question, and it's going to send it out, and it's going to send that back to us.
Yes, the dark web is real. It refers to the part of the internet that is not indexed by search engines and requires special software, such as Tor, to access. While not all...
We're not going to listen to the entire thing she says, but she'll go through a lot of information on that. So what we actually did was we called multiple AIs to do this. So the first thing we did was recorded that. So that is a JavaScript function. You can actually record what a user says. It's part of the browser. But we then send that audio clip to AI for transcription. So that does speech to text, and then it sends it back to us. We then take that text and we send it into AI as a prompt. AI then returns that prompt to, it returns a response to us. And we then use AI to take that prompt and go text to speech so it can speak back to us. So we did quite a lot there, right? So when I go in and I say something like, what is a spear phishing attack?
A spear phishing attack is a more targeted and personalized type of phishing attack. It involves the use of email or other forms of electronic communication to deceive individuals.
And again, we won't listen to the whole thing, but you get the idea. You can ask it any question. We can actually have it, target specifically cybersecurity, so it won't answer other questions. There's a lot of ways you can formulate that prompt, but you can have people talk to your course and have the course talk back. This may make sense in maybe in things where you're working with a role play. Maybe you want to have that role play such that you can actually speak to the other side of things rather than having to type something or select something from a choice. Lots of things you can do. And you can do this in Lectora because Lectora is so extensible. It allows for this kind of a thing to go on. Not very complicated inside, although this one obviously is a bit more complicated than the last one in that it had multiple calls going on out there. But again, same sort of thing. We have an HTML extension. If I take a look at that, and I think it's an external file. Yeah, it's an external file. So it's going to bring it up here. And we go through, we have a recorder that records what we're putting in. We record what we're going to say. And then we just give it, the only prompt I gave it, I could have given a lot more, is the assistant is a chat bot that answers questions from the user about cybersecurity. And then I put in what their question was. So the first thing we did was send it to transcribe the audio. Then we send it in to actually get a response back. And then we used voice synthesis to put it out. So that's the entirety of that. We also have a little bit at the bottom to get that really cool looking thing to know that you're talking. I thought that was very helpful to see a little squiggly as you were going. So very, very cool stuff. Okay, we covered a lot of ground today, and I tried to keep up with the questions, but I definitely could not keep up with them. Had to get all that done in time. Hopefully you've enjoyed the presentation today. Hopefully provide some insight that's going to jumpstart your AI journey, and maybe something that can make you productive in your everyday.
All right, John, thank you so much. That was fantastic. I am going to save all of the Lectora specific questions for our next presenters. We have also had some of our product people in the chat answering some stuff. We had a few questions about, so those AI image generators that you showed at the beginning, the images, are they free to use once you've generated them? Are there any copyright issues with those? What's the deal with that?
Yes, they are free to use. There are a few things going on. If you ask for the style, and somebody actually mentioned this, if you ask for the style of a specific artist, there can be some issue like that. In general, that is generative AI. It is literally generating it on the fly. If you don't ask for the style of a specific artist, you are going to get something that is absolutely just fine. If you have a professional artist and you ask for it in their style, that could be considered a problem sometimes. Perhaps not, but I would just generally stay away from that.
All right, so no copying famous artists, and you're good.
Yes. Yep.
Do you need to cite AI if you're using it to generate content for a course?
So there's a lot of discussion going on with that right now as far as citing AI. I actually, I'm a professor at a university in which they're giving us a lot of information on that as well right now. And what they're saying is you should never cite AI. You should ask AI to cite its references and use those references. That is what is the current, what's being told to me. However, that can change. But right now, that is the current recommendation.
All right. Thank you so much. That's all the questions we'll take right now. I want to give everybody time to have a quick bathroom break, email check before our next presenters. But thank you so much for joining us today, John.
Okay, thank you.